Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. Hello and welcome to episode 44 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. This one is called Get Moving, You Can't Steer a Parked Car. So this is for all of you who may feel like your feet are in wet cement or like you are stuck in park and want to figure out how to get yourself in gear so your life can start moving in the direction that you really want. This is really a subject that's near and dear to my heart because I spend time every single week touching base with women who are considering membership in our programs. I don't get to take a lot of those calls anymore because I have a great team who does it, but I do really like to stay in touch with what is the mindset, what is the headspace of someone who hasn't yet entered our program? What are the issues that they're wrestling with? And this is a big one. You know, this feeling that gets described to me of feeling like my feet are in cement or feeling like my car is in park. Sometimes people will say, I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, which is a little bit different. You know, that's a little bit of, I'm running really, really hard, but I'm not getting anywhere. The difference here is literally feeling paralyzed, like I'm stuck, right? And I'm afraid to move forward. And the wheels are just not in motion. And that is a very, very typical set of circumstances for women when they reach out to me or to my team to talk about how one of our programs might help them. So because I've had so many of these conversations, I wanted to share with you what a few of the insights are that I've gleaned from those. You know, what have I learned about what's really going on when you're in that state? And it really comes down to one of three pieces that's missing. One of these three things is the challenge. The first one that we're going to talk about is often overlooked. The first one is clarity. So frequently when the feeling that you have is like, I can't move forward, what's really going on is you are afraid of wasting your time, wasting your effort, wasting your energy. And so there's this sense that because I'm feeling unclear about what I really want, I better not do anything at all. Because if I started to take action and it turned out that that was the wrong thing, or I changed my mind, I may waste some energy and some effort on a path that I don't actually complete. And so if you find yourself in this position where you're feeling really stuck, really stagnant, like there's no movement, no momentum, that's the first kind of challenge I would issue is I want you to think about, do you lack clarity of a vision? Things get a lot easier when you have that, you know, when you can picture the life that you want, the outcome that you want, almost like in Technicolor, it gets a lot easier. It really does. But it's possible to get some forward movement even before you really get that crystal clear vision of what the future is going to look like, right? What you have to develop in that case is sort of a tolerance for multiple outcomes. You know, a tolerance that you may have to take a few steps forward and then go sideways a little bit and make adjustments on the fly. So if you're looking for the simplest path, the thing that creates almost magnetic pull forward, what you really want to do is look for that extreme clarity in the vision. Okay, so that's the first piece. Sometimes you find that you have the clarity, you know where you actually want to go, but you're still not feeling like you're making any progress. And what I would say is missing there is consistency of action. You know, you want to ask yourself, do I know how to regularly take steps that keep me moving in the right direction. Because it's really not enough to just take one step and then sort of take a detour, forget about it for a while, put the plan on the shelf, and then maybe come back and dust it off and say, where was I? And oh, right, I'm going to take the next step. And then you get distracted and the next thing comes along and you forget about it for a while. It's, that is a really long path to be on. And it can feel almost the same as being stuck because all of that little bit of action and then big long pause and then all the energy that it takes to restart can be exhausting. And so what it feels like in that case is that you're not making any progress at all. So you really want to look at consistency of action. Now, the cool thing about consistency is you don't have to be taking really big steps, right? You can take little teeny tiny steps, but when you stack them one after the other, after the other, after the other, day after day, before you know it, you've made substantial progress. And that consistency has to be maintained even when things go awry, right? Even when there's a distraction, even when there's a detour, when the kids get sick or the weather's bad or whatever it is, the ability to to sort of be in an environment where you are taking that consistent action, those steps forward, no matter what, that really really ensures your success almost more than anything else. Because if you can line up those actions, you can use them to steer, right? When you're taking consistent steps, regularly assessing how it's going, keeping your eye on the clear destination you've chosen, it gives you the ability to make those micro adjustments along the way, right? You'll never have veered too far off course, and you can just keep making those micro adjustments so that you really get closer and closer, like you kind of start to hone in on that destination. So that's the second one, consistency, right? First was clarity. Second one is consistency. And the third piece that's sometimes missing when you really feel frozen in place, like you've given thought to the idea, you're clear on what it is that you want, and you feel like you've taken consistent action, but it almost seems like maybe the steps are getting smaller and smaller every day instead of bigger, then what's probably missing is courage. And this is a big one because fear will be your companion on this journey. When you're trying to get where you want to go, you can almost count on it. So your ability to summon courage when you get scared is really critical. So what are the tools that you use? What are you saying to yourself? Who do you turn to when you're feeling like you want to turn back and play small? Those are important questions because courage is the force that all purpose-driven people know how to harness. It makes up for a lot of other shortcomings, and without this one, your dream is kind of dead on arrival. It won't be a very exciting dream if you lack courage. And so this is where mindset work really comes into play. This is where accountability and environment and community really come into play because you have to be in a place, literally and figuratively, where you feel strong, where you feel like you can take it on, right? You can take on the challenge. And that's the courage piece. So sometimes we're sort of, I picture it like your back's against the wall and you're frozen into a pose with one arm up and one arm down because you're terrified, like you're standing on a ledge almost. And that's how you know that the block that's keeping you stuck is courage. So it really can be any of the three. I can have a conversation with someone and the big issue can be you really don't have any clarity about what you want. And because of that, you're just sort of spinning around. You can't land the plane. And the second element is it might be that they have that vision, but they're really not taking consistent action. They stop and start. They don't have accountability to anyone. There's not really a lot of progress being made. It's almost like their heart's not in it, when you don't have that consistency. And then the third piece that sometimes just has people completely tied up in knots is this lack of courage. And they'll say it's a lack of confidence. That's what they'll often say. I'm just not feeling very confident. But we almost always get that reframed as, well, what would it take for you to exhibit courage in this situation?
Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
These really are the exact 3 things that I work on with members of our Brilliant Balance programs. They're so pivotal to women being able to realize their full potential. And I never cease to be amazed by how quickly, we can help our members get out of the gate and get moving again when they sort of snap this framework into place. They can't always believe it either. I mean, the stories that they come back and tell us are, they're almost incredulous, but the results don't lie. They see very quickly that when they learn the tools to get past any one of these blocks, they're able to get moving forward again. So that's the challenge I would issue to you today, is to self-assess, where am I stuck? Is there some area of my life that I keep saying I would really like a different outcome, but I'm stuck at the starting line? I haven't done anything except talk about it. And I'm talking to my friends, I'm talking to my husband, I'm talking to my sister, but I'm not actually piecing together actions that are going to get me from here to there. And I want you to use these 3 C's to get underneath why that might be happening, because it doesn't have to be that way. It's not one of these situations where you're like, well, what choice do I have? There's really nothing I can do about it. Deep down, there are things you can do about this. That feeling of being stuck is a solvable problem. With the right tools, the right environment, the right guidance, you can get moving again. So it's really important that you know when you're in that state, because sometimes people don't even realize that they're stuck, because they're so busy doing other things like laundry and carpool and making dinner and, returning phone calls and doing email and all of the things that we do to just sort of like keep our heads above water. If you're doing all those things and you're really, really busy and you're tired at night, you might not even notice for a while that you're sitting in a parked car, busily rearranging things, but the car's not going anywhere. That's really dangerous. So my challenge to you today is, can you identify where you are sitting in a parked car? And then can you think about what it might take for you to get moving? When you do, you're going to be amazed by how quickly you can start to make progress in the direction of that dream that you're holding, of the goal that you have, of the, sometimes we call it the transformation that you want to make. It's a really powerful thing. You don't have to figure this all out on your own. If you're ever curious about how we do this work with women inside of Brilliant Balance, you can come check it out. You can scoot over to CherylanneSkolnicki.com. And I know that's a mouthful, but my name is written out there in the internet. It's pretty easy to find. So CherylanneSkolnicki.com and then /brilliant-balance. And we have some information there about what our membership-based programs are like, because we're happy to help. I'm sure there are other ways that you could get moving, but it is really important that you don't just let that intuitive hit pass you by. If you have locked in on the fact that it's an issue, that you're stuck somewhere, then the next step is to take that very first action, which is get your hand up in the air and get somebody to help you so you can get moving. There's no promise here that it's an easy journey. There's no promise here that it's a smooth road ahead. All of these transformations that, move you closer to your potential have sacrifice attached to them. They have heartache sometimes. They have cost sometimes. It's not like we get to have the life of our dreams in a puff of smoke. There's always some kind of effort, but it's also amazing to me how when you really get in the right environment and you get your actions in the right sequence, things do seem to smooth out. They seem to happen more gracefully. They seem to happen more quickly, and you seem to have a lot more fun. on the path. I will tell you this as we wrap up today's episode, I want to caution you that when you get fired up about your dream and you get excited about where it is that you want to go, sometimes one of the biggest roadblocks that you can run into is going to come from an unexpected place. It's going to come from someone who lives in your house with you, and that's your spouse. So the next time that we're together, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about getting your spouse to buy into your dreams, because if you have a spouse, you know how important that is. And if you don't have a spouse, there may be someone else in your life that it's really important to you to have their buy-in, their support, right? Their encouragement. And so we're going to talk about what it takes to really get that person to fully buy into your dreams so that you can go faster. You can have less friction involved in that journey. So before we wrap up fully today, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. If you liked this episode, or if you've been liking any of the episodes that you've been listening to, I'm going to ask you to take a minute and leave a review on iTunes. We have well over 100 reviews and climbing every day. And I would love for you to take a minute and at a minimum, just use the stars icon to give us 1 to 5 stars. Or if you have an extra minute, to really write some of your thoughts down about what you're learning from listening to the podcast or what you've applied from what you've learned so far. I'll tell you, a lot of the women that we're talking to inside the programs are podcast listeners, and they're telling us about their insights. And it's really helping to shape future episodes, to hear what's landing, what questions are being left unanswered, what could we talk about next? So if you have another minute to actually do a written review in iTunes, that would be awesome. I think the simplest way to do that is to go into your podcast player and actually search for the show, not just for an episode. And then when you find the icon for the show, when you click on that and you scroll down, you're going to see that you have to scroll down like a while under all the episodes you've played. And you'll see the section that says ratings and reviews. And you can just tap the number of stars there to indicate how many stars you want to give us. And then you also can click, there's a little button that says write a review. And when you click that, it gives you like a text box, I think, and you can put in your review. And it can even be anonymous. You don't have to share your name with us if you don't want to. But I'll take an extra minute today to explain how to do that in case that's a deterrent for anyone. And I really would appreciate it. It is really helpful to hear what's working, what's not, what do you like about the show, who are you sharing it with? Those are just great insights to have so that we can continue to make it better and better. We're coming up on a year of doing the episode. We're at 44 today, coming up on the 1-year mark, and that's hard to believe. This year has gone quickly. So we are looking forward to year 2 and all that comes with that. All right, that is it for today, my friends. Until the next time we are together, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.